The film that you're editing now, are you able to tell us the image that inspired it and what
Yeah, it's called the 5 Rules of Success, and the image that inspired it was of a neighbor of mine who, on my block that I've lived in a long time in Hollywood, who has been in and out of prison a lot of his life. And he's actually in there right now. He's a really cool dude. And it was a photo that I took of him on the street, of him lifting his shirt up, and he had like a Benjamin Franklin tattoo that he had just got on his stomach. And the film is about a guy who gets out of prison, who basically follows this self-made rule book on how to find success and to achieve his dream of opening a restaurant after prison.
Wow.
So yeah, it kind of came back to this photo I had taken of this guy with this $100 bill Benjamin Franklin tattoo, who was a good friend of mine and was been out of prison for a while.
And how long did it take you to write the screenplay?
This one happened really fast. This film was kind of a trip. I had written an idea for that, a very loose idea that I had never finished a couple of years ago. And then a really close friend of mine, and my producer and collaborator, came to me. And he was like, hey, I was trying to make a new movie. We didn't know really what to do. He was like, I think we can, make movies. Do you have any ideas? I sent them some ideas. And then he told me, I've had this idea of these like 5 rules that I've lived my life by. And does this inspire you in any way? And I said, absolutely it does. And in about 3 weeks, I wrote the script. And I just holed up. And 3 weeks wrote the first draft of the script. And it just kind of went nuts. And it was the mixture of this story that I had written about my neighbor with the photo I'd taken of him with the Benjamin Franklin to we shot the film. I wrote the script. The first draft was finished in November. We started shooting the film in January. So it happened really fast, and it was just kind of this like race the whole time. So it was really cool. But yeah, I just kind of like came out of me, and the way the script was written was it to kind of be mercurial and change. So in the edit, it's been a lot of rewriting. It's been a really kind of fun but tumultuous process, the editing of the film. But yeah, the screenplay, it just like came out. It was a really cool experience. I never made a movie this fast. So,
is the neighbor in the film?
No, he's in prison still.
He's still there. Okay.
Yeah, he's still there. I think he gets out in 2 years. But I did speak to him not long ago. But we did shoot in prison just for a small portion of it and stuff. And
where he is?
No, not where
he is.
I
was going to say, yeah, how'd you get acting?
No, a different one.
Oh, okay.
I was actually really bummed out. I thought the location when we went to see it was an active prison, but it wasn't.
Oh.
But yeah, we filmed up in Mira Loma State, the detention facility up in Lancaster. But yeah, so it's just kind of this, it's very much to me, this film is a little bit of my reaction to how society gives you no tools to really navigate it. And I use the metaphor of someone who gets out of prison almost like a blank slate. And at the same time that he's trying to achieve something and really putting his best foot forward, society is constantly pushing back at him.
Sure. Yeah, I can have a lot to say on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think the screenplay came so fast to you?
Because it goes back to the obsession. It's like, it just lit a fire in me. Like the possibility of making a movie, like it's so hard to get any money. So the idea that there was like a real like pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Maybe in this case, it wasn't gold. Maybe it was more like bronze or steel or who knows, some sort of less luxury metal. And
titanium.
Yeah, titanium. I can only hope. And it was just the idea sparked so many of my thoughts of society, so many of my thoughts of characters. And I got to just really have fun because there was no one telling me really how to do it. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna like be super creative, have fun, write, and know that there's and also I had set up rules like from the get-go of the film and of the world, because we were already constrained by a budget from the day I started writing. So it could never get out of hand. It could never, there could never be, here's the $5 million version, here's the, $50,000 version. There was only the lower budget version of the movie. So, that confined me to a certain type of format and world that I got to examine. So it was, I think that's why it came out so fast. It was almost like there were rules set in place already from the get-go, and I had to follow them. And that allowed me to really just push forward through the script.
And so did you just limit the locations? I know you said there's some in the Mira Loma prison, but did you have some at an apartment or something?
Yeah, it mostly takes place. I shot half the film in my office, which we just redesigned as his apartment. It's basically most of the film is in a apartment, a Armenian Greek restaurant, and just streets of Los Angeles. And that's kind of where it was at, And I always, everything I've made has kind of had another obsession with just like Los Angeles as a whole. It goes back to La La Land. The city is just like so schizophrenic. I love it. There's just so many different pockets, different enclaves, different neighborhoods and worlds that you get to walk through. So I kind of wanted to show that in the movie. I probably could have done myself a favor and limited the locations more, which is definitely has been a learning lesson in each film, which is to be more efficient than I was the film before. And if I am lucky enough to make another film, I'll try to be more efficient. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it was about, writing it with those parameters and limiting the locations and, limiting the amount of characters. I said, all problems can only be solved between these 3 or 4 characters. There can't be characters outside of it that come and suddenly the story goes off with,
And when the film is finished and it's out there, what do you want the conversation to be? Or you're not tied to what it will be?
I have the reasons I made it and the things that I want to talk about, but I don't care what anyone else talks about as long as they talk about it. I don't want to force their hand. I don't think it's my place to tell them this is what the film is about. I don't want to explain it to them. I think it's the coolest thing is getting to watch something and come up to your own idea of what it's about. I mean, I love films. I love like Nicholas Refn, Only God Forgives, right? Who the hell knows what that movie's about? I don't know. He never tells you what it's about. The film is kind of a little vague, but I've had so many great conversations with people who have so many different ideas of what that movie is about. And there's a lot of great films that allow us to kind of get to imagine as audience members what they're trying to say without hitting us over the head all the time with it. So I don't know. I hope people talk about society. I hope they talk about the prison industrial complex and how it takes advantage of really, hardworking, good members of society and turns them into criminals and, doesn't give them the proper tools necessary. And I also think it's about your own personal agency and the idea that you make your decisions and they're your decisions. There's no one else's decisions. We are very lucky to be able to have a choice.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting what you said, I think, about different not having tools, Not everybody grows up with the same, it's not a level playing field. And that's not to hate on one group for having more or having had, I grew up without 2 parents, I had just one. And so, and I know I grew up in a very conservative town where seeing other kids that did have more, it did do a number on me a little bit. And so then when you're an adult, then, okay, how do you take those feelings and not turn them against yourself, turn them against other people, even if they've done you wrong, and sort of contain some of that. So I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people in their little safe middle class bubble, they don't understand some of that.
And you almost make them I think a big part of what I was trying to take from this film is taking a guy that almost had the deck stacked against him and making that almost like a superpower, making that his experience and his the quality of life that he had lived almost gave him an edge over other people, and that's kind of where I was taking this character. It made him a little sharper, made him a little harder, made him a little more detached from emotions in the decision making. So in a way, to me, those what the world had taken from him, he uses as his best tool, as his greatest tool.
How did he get that superpower? That's interesting.
I mean, because I think that it just came from a certain amount of self-reflection and intelligence and understanding of in this film. I think it's a person. That's why I wanted him to kind of create this guide for him to live by, because he saw that he had an experience that other people didn't have, and that was going to separate him. And that doesn't make it always have to be bad. You know, your experience, whether other people deem it good or bad, doesn't mean it has to be bad.